Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Now we'll discuss a module from comparative literature drama in India, and the module is on Mritshakatikam. The content of this module is written by Surojit Maiti, University of Hyderabad. Mritshakatika, or The Little Clay Cart, is an ancient Sanskrit play written by King Shudraka, Ujjaini, in around 3rd century AD. It is one of the oldest of all the so far known Sanskrit plays in Indian literature. Concerning the life, the date and the very identity of the author, King Shudraka, we are curiously ignorant. No other work is ascribed to him, and we have no direct information about him till date, beyond the somewhat fanciful and exaggerated self-praising statements in the prologue of this play. Surely, there are many tales who cluster about the name of King Shudraka, but none of them found so far represents him as an author. A few years back, the age and even the authorship of this play was uncertain. After the unexpected discovery of the plays of Vasha provided us with new data and brought light to the drama Charudatto, whose enlarged and completed version Mritshakatika seems to be. According to its prologue, Shudraka was a Kshatriya king of some country, not mentioned as such, brave and handsome in appearance, knowing Rigveda, Samaveda, and mathematics. He knew the art of regarding courtesans and the science of training elephants, was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and had performed the Ashwamedha sacrifice. The great king died at the ripe age of 100 years and 10 days. Due to lack of information, facts and evidences, the authorship of this play is still uncertain. There are many theories prevailing about the same, but none of them could be considered reliable. Yet our very lack of information may prove to some extent at least a disguised blessing, for our ignorance of external fact compels a closer study of the text. If we would find out what manner of man it was who wrote the play, and the case of King Shudraka is by no means unique in India of biography, we are forced to concentrate attention on the man as he reveals himself in his works. First, however, it may be worthwhile to compare Shudraka with two other great dramatists of India, and thus to discover, if we may, in what ways he excels them or is excelled by them. Kalidasa, Shudraka, Bhavabhuti, assuredly these are the greatest names in the history of the Indian drama. So different are these men and so great that it is not possible to assert for any one of them such supremacy as Shakespeare holds in the English drama. Kalidasa, the grace of poetry, and Bhavabhuti, the master of eloquence, are far more intimately allied in spirit than is either of them with the author of Mritshakatika. Kalidasa and Bhavabhuti are Hindus of the Hindus. The Shakuntala and the later acts of Rama could have been written nowhere save in India, but Shudraka, alone in the long line of Indian dramatists, has a cosmopolitan character. Shakuntala is a Hindu maid, Madhava is a Hindu hero, but Sansthanaka and Maitreyi and Madanika are citizens of the world in some of the more striking characteristics of Sanskrit literature, in its fondness for system, its elaboration of style, its love of epigram. Kalidasa and Bhavabhuti are far truer to their native land than is Shudraka. In Shudraka, we find few of those splendid phrases in which, as the Chinese say, it is only the words which stop, the sense goes on. Phrases like Kalidasa's there are doors of the inevitable everywhere, or Bhavabhutis, for causeless love there is no remedy. As regards the predominance of swill moving action over the poetical expression of great truths, the little clay cart stands related to the later acts of Rama as Macbeth does to Hamlet. Again, Shudraka's style is simple and direct, a rare quality in a Hindu, and although this style in the passage of higher emotion is of an exquisite simplicity, yet Shudraka cannot infuse into mere language the charm which we find in Kalidasa or the majesty which we find in Bhavabhuti. Yet Shudraka's limitations in regard to stylistic power are not without their compensation, for love of style slowly strangled originality and enterprise in Indian poets, and ultimately proved the death of Sanskrit literature. Now, just at this point where other Hindu writers are weak, Shudraka stands forth prominent. Nowhere else in the hundreds of Sanskrit dramas do we find such variety and such drawing of characters as in The Little Clay Cart. And nowhere else in the drama, at least, is there such humor. To gain a rough idea of Shudraka's variety, we have only to recall the names of the acts of the plays. Here, the shampooer who gambled and the hole in the wall are shortly followed by the storm, and the sweeping of the bullock cart is closely succeeded by the strangling of Vasantasena. From farce to tragedy, from satire to pathos, runs the story with a breath truly Shakespearean. Here we have philosophy. The lack of money is the root of all evil. And pathos, my body wet by teardrops falling, my limbs polluted by the clinging mud, flowers from the graveyard torn, my wrath appealing, for costly sacrifice, wars ravens calling, and for the fragrant incense of my blood. And nature description. But mistress, do not scold the lightning, she is your friend. This golden cord that trembles on the breast of great Airavata upon the crest of rocky hills, this banner all ablaze. This lamp in Indra's palace, but most blessed, as telling where your most beloved stays, and genuine bitterness, pride and tricks and lies and fraud are in your face. False playground of the lustful god, such is your face, such is your face. The wench stock in trade in fine, epitome of joys divine. I mean your face for sale, the price is courtesy. I trust you will find a man to buy your face. But a spirit so powerful as the king Shudraka could not be confined within the straight jacket of the minute and sometime puerile rules of the technical works. In the very title of the drama, he has disregarded the rule that the name of a drama of invention should be formed by compounding the names of heroine and hero. Again, the books prescribed that the hero shall appear in every act. Yet Charudatta does not appear in acts 2, 4, 6 and 8. And further various characters, Vasantasena, Maitreya, the courtier and others have vastly gained because they do not conform too closely to the technical definitions. It remains to say a word about the construction of the play. Obviously, it is too long. More than this, the main action halts through Act 2 and 5. And during these episodic acts, we almost forget that the main plot concerns the love of Vasantasena and Charudatta. Indeed, we have in the Little Clay Cart the material for two plays. The larger part of Act 1 forms with Act 6 to 10 a consistent and ingenious plot. The second act, clever as it is, has little real connection either with the main plot or with the story of the gems. The breadth of treatment which is observable in this play is found in many other specimens of the Sanskrit drama, which has set itself an ideal different from that of our own drama. The lack of dramatic unity and consistency is often compensated, indeed, by lyrical beauty and charms of style, but it suggests the question whether we might not more justly speak of the Sanskrit plays as dramatic poems as dramas. Now, let us describe the outline of the plot of the play. Act 1, entitled The Gems Are Left Behind, evening of the first day after the prologue, Charudatta, who is within his house, converses with his friend Maitreya and deplores his poverty. While they are speaking, Vasantasena appears in the street outside. She is pursued by the courtier and Sangsthanaka. The latter makes her de-regarding offers of his love, which she indignantly rejects. Charudatta sends Maitreya from the house to offer sacrifice, and through the open door, Vasantasena slip unobserved into the house. Maitreya returns to an altar action with Sangsthanaka and recognizes Vasantasena. Vasantasena leaves a casket of gems in the house for safekeeping and returns to her home. Act 2, entitled The Shampooer Who Gambled, second day, the act opens in Vasantasena's house. Vasantasena confesses to her maid Madanika her love for Charudatta. Then a shampooer appears in the street, pursued by the gambling master and a gambler who demand of him 10 gold pieces which he has lost in the gambling house. At this point, Darduraka enters and engages the gambling master and the gambler in an angry discussion, during which the shampooer escapes into Vasantasena's house. Act 3, entitled The Hole in the Wall, the night following the second day, Charudatta and Maitreya return home after midnight from a concert and go to sleep. Maitreya has in his hand the gem casket which Vasantasena has left behind. Sharbilaka enters. He is in love with Madanika, a maid of Vasantasena, and is resolved to acquire by theft the means of buying her freedom. He makes a hole in the wall of the house, enters and steals the casket of gems which Vasantasena had left. Act 4, entitled Madanika and Sharvilaka, third day, Sharvilaka comes to Vasantasena's house to buy Madanika's freedom. Vasantasena overhears the facts concerning the theft of her gem casket from Charudatta's house, but accepts the casket and gives Madanika her freedom. As Sharvilaka leaves the house, he hears that his friend Aryaka, who had been imprisoned by the king, has escaped and is being pursued. Sharvilaka departs to help him. Maitreya comes from Charudatta with the pearl necklace to repay Vasantasena for the gem casket. She accepts the necklace also, as giving her an excuse for a visit to Charudatta. Act 5, The Storm, evening of the third day. Charudatta appears in the garden of his house. Here he receives a servant of Vasantasena, who announces that Vasantasena is on her way to visit him. Vasantasena then appears in the street with the courtier. The two describe alternately the violence and beauty of the storm which has suddenly arisen. Act 6, entitled The Sweeping of the Bullock Cart, morning of the fourth day. Here she meets Charudatta's little son, Rohoshen. The boy is peevish because he can now have only a little clay cart to play with instead of finer toys. Vasantasena gives him her gems to buy a toy cart of gold. Charudatta's servant drives up to take Vasantasena in Charudatta's bullock cart to the park where she is to meet Charudatta. But while Vasantasena is making ready, he drives away to get a cushion. Then Sangsthanaka's servant drives up with his master's cart, which Vasantasena enters by mistake. Soon after, Charudatta's servant returns with his cart. Then the escaped prisoner Aryaka appears and enters Charudatta's cart. Two policemen come on the scene. They are searching for Aryaka. One of them looks into the cart and discovers Aryaka but agrees to protect him. This he does by deceiving and finally maltreating his companion. Act 7, entitled Aryaka's Escape. Fourth day, Charudatta is awaiting Vasantasena in the park. His cart in which Aryaka lies hidden appears. Charudatta discovers the fugitive, removes his fetters, lends him the cart and leaves the park. Act 8, entitled The Strangling of Vasantasena. Fourth day, a Buddhist monk, the shampooer of the second act, enters the park. He has difficulty in escaping from Sangsthanaka, who appears with the courtier. Sangsthanaka's servant drives in with the cart which Vasantasena had entered by mistake. She is discovered by Sangsthanaka, who pursues her with insulting offers of love. Act 9, entitled The Trial. Fifth day, Sangsthanaka accuses Charudatta of murdering Vasantasena for her money. In the course of the trial, it appears the Vasantasena had spent the night of the storm at Charudatta's house, that she had left the house the next morning to meet Charudatta in the park, that there had been a struggle in the park, which apparently ended in the murder of a woman. Act 10, entitled The End. Sixth day, two headsmen are conducting Charudatta to the place of execution. Charudatta takes his last leave of his son and his friend Maitreya, but Sangsthanaka's servant escapes from confinement and betrays the truth. Yet he is not believed, owing to the cunning displayed by his master. The headsmen are preparing to execute Charudatta when Vasantasena herself appears upon the scene, accompanied by the Buddhist monk. Her appearance puts a summary into the proceedings. Then news is brought that Aryaka has killed and supplanted the former king, that he wishes to reward Charudatta, and that he has by royal edict freed Vasantasena from the necessity of living as a courtesan. Sangsthanaka is brought before Charudatta for sentence, but is pardoned by the man whom he had so grievously injured. The play ends with the usual epilogue. The theme and the different aspects of the play. Mritchakatika is one of the most famous prakarnas, a play whose plot is partly derived from the history and partly is a creation of the author's fancy of the ancient India that is not based on the epic material and is full of rascals. It is natural that Shudraka should choose for the expression of matters so diverse that type of drama which gives the greatest scope to the author's creative power. This type is the so-called drama of invention, a category curiously subordinated in India to the heroic drama, the plot of which is drawn from history or mythology. Indeed, Mritchakatika is the only extant drama which fulfills the spirit of the drama of invention as defined by the Sanskrit canons of dramaturgy. An exaggerated tongue in Czech self-praise by the author begins as, who vied with elephants in lordly grace, whose eyes were those of the chakora bird that feeds on moonbeams, glorious his face, as the full moon his person all have heard, was altogether lovely, first in worth among the twice born, was this poet known as Shudraka, far over all the earth, his virtues depth unfathomed and alone. Mrichakatika, a 10-act play based on the love of Charudatta, a prominent but poor inhabitant of Ujjaini, also called Avanti, and Vasantasena, an exquisitely beautiful and pure-minded courtesan of the same city. The play begins with prologue consisting of a benedictory stanza, which basically is a prayer for the people of the world. Author asks Lord Shiva to protect the people from all kind of pain and prejudice, free them from all kind of bounds of mind and body. This is followed by some interesting particulars about the author told to the audience by the director of the play in a poetic sense. The characters of the Mrichakatika are living men and women. It is quite evident from the play that Shudraka's men are better individualized than his women. The characters include every class of individuals in the society, from Brahmins to executioner to housemaids. Two elements of the play often perplex Western audience. First, Vasantasena's profession, and second, Charudatta is married. Vasantasena's profession is not as tawdry as Western audiences often suppose. She is not merely a body for sale. In the opening moments of the play, she rejects Shangsthanaka's advances, though he is not only wealthy but the king's brother-in-law. Furthermore, we find her speaking Sanskrit, albeit briefly, in Act 4. This is not an insignificant detail. Vasantasena is educated. She circulates among the privileged of society, and she circulates in the open among the movers and shakers of the community, which is to say, among the men. Indeed, Charudatta is married, but his wife is only identified as the wife, hardly appears in the play, and then not outside the confines of her home. The courtesan has a unique status in the cultural context of this play. The play gives not a single word to concerns over Charudatta's marriage. Like Dushwanta in Shakuntala, Charudatta is free to pursue whatever paramours attract his attention. The world of Mrichakatika is a man's world. Only educated courtesans like Vasantasena have a place of their own in it. His greatest character is unquestionably Shangsthanaka. This combination of ignorant conceit, brutal lust and cunning, this greater than Cloten, who after strangling an innocent woman can say, "Oh, come, let's go and play in the pond." Most attractive characters are the 5 conspirators, men whose home is east of Suez and the commandments. They live from hand to mouth, ready at any moment to steal a gem casket or to take part in a revolution, and preserving through it all their character as gentlemen and their irresistible conceit. And side by side with them moves the hero Charudatta, the Buddhist bewiddle of manhood, a tree of life to them whose sorrows grow beneath its fruit of virtue bending low. To him, life itself is not dear, but only honor. He values wealth only as it supplies him with the means of serving others. Vasantasena is a character with neither the girlish charm of Shakuntala nor the mature womanly dignity of Sita. She is more admirable than lovable. Witty and wise she is, and in her love as true as still, this too in a social position which makes such constancy difficult. In Maitreya, the Vidushaka, we find an instance of our author's masterly skill in giving life to the dry bones of a rhetorical definition. The Vidushaka is a stock character who has something in common with a jester. And in Maitreya, the essential traits of the character eagerness for good food and other creature comforts, and blundering devotion to his friend are retained, to be sure, but clarified and elevated by his quaint humor and his readiness to follow Charudatta even in death. The grosser traits of the typical Vidusaka are lacking. Maitreya is neither a glutton nor a fool, but a simple-minded, whole-hearted friend. The courtier is another character suggested by the technical works and transformed by the genius of Shudraka. He is a man not only of education and social refinement, but also of real nobility of nature. But he is in a false position from the first. This true gentleman at the wretched court of King Palaka. At last he finds the courage to break away and risks life and all that makes life attractive by backing Aryaka. Of all the conspirators, it is he who runs the greatest risk. To his protection of Vasantasena is added a touch of infinite pathos when we remember that he was himself in love with her only when Vasantasena leaves him without a thought to enter Charudatta's house. Does he realize how much he loves her? Then indeed he breaks forth in words of the most passionate jealousy. Now let us summarize the discussion. In this model we discussed very famous one of the canonical dramatic text from ancient India, that is by Shudraka, and the text is Mritchakatika. This text has multiple significances, and this text is classic. It is not bounded with any instruction of the time. That is why we can find multiple translation of Mritchakatika during the course of the time, and Mritchakatika has been performed or is being performed on the stages till the date in different parts of India. Mritchakatika introduced different kind of characters from across the classes, which shows the author's social consciousness. And this play brought the people from marginal section into the play, and all of them have very significant characters. They are not silent. They all have dialogues with their own identity and with their own selfhood. In that sense, this play gives us a lesson to learn about the inclusive representation of the society, of the people across the classes. There are lots of symbolism which are engaged with the play, which are reflected in the play. Rahushen doesn't want to play with the clay cart, and Vasantasena is offering her gems to buy gold cart. It shows that the younger generations dream or imagination about wealth, and Vasantasena, apparently, who is not as such acceptable in our modern society, had her own position in the ancient society. Being a courtesan, she had to do a lot, she had to put a lot labor to gather those wealth, those gems for her. But she actually transcends the maya, the greed of this mortal world, and that is why she can leave all the ornaments, all the gems of her for a child, for a child's happiness. And through that, the love towards Charudatto also has been reflected here. But not only about the love, not only about the moral education, not only about the social analysis, not only about the spiritual understanding, but Shudraka concentrated on the political affairs of the state, political affairs of the power. And we can see when Aryaka is getting new power, and the dialogues what Shudraka made in that part, the reality what is reflected in that part, that the king at the end of the day may be oppressive. So such kind of political consciousness, political reflection also have been reflected in this play. So this play has its own multiple, multifaceted significance, and that is why this play, this dramatic text, successfully adapted till date also. Thank you.